So that's the only reason why. Not that I don't want that for you. If that's what you want, that result is totally available to you. And that is the whole point of coaching, is understanding what's happening in our brains so that we can be intentional about creating beliefs and thoughts and value systems that drive the feelings, behaviors to create the results that we want, especially in parenting, because we all want to connect with our kids. We all want to enjoy raising our kids. We don't like feeling angry and annoyed and frustrated all the time. We don't like thinking that they're going to be a failure. We don't like being worried about their future success. We want to believe in them, and we want to enjoy this limited time that we have with them, or we want to not be worried that they're never going to leave the house. There's a whole bunch of different scenarios that we're experiencing as parents. But to get those results that we want, there are just so many things that we have to look at that are happening in our own mind and understand before we have the power to change them. So that is what I want to challenge you to today in this short video, is thinking about something, a scenario, a story, a situation. It could be just one time, one really specific incident of something that happened with one of your kids, and think about, what was I feeling in that moment that drove the behaviors that I'm not loving? And if you're really stuck on the result of what your child did, that isn't going to be helpful to you, because you don't have control over your children, but you do have a lot of influence. And that influence is only effective when you are aware, attuned, and managing what you're thinking, what you're believing, and how you're behaving. And that is really hard, how you're behaving, when you don't have an understanding of how what you're thinking and believing is creating the emotions that's creating the behaviors. So if you're like, this is so overwhelming, I don't get it, send me a message and I will go and break this down even more clearly, because I've been learning this for a long time. So to me, it just makes perfect sense. But I would love feedback if you're like, I want this, I want these better results, but I do not understand what you're talking about at all. So I'm going to just break it down really fast. The very beginning is noticing if you have an interaction with your child that you don't like how it turned out. We don't want to think about what they did, what they're doing, what's wrong with them. We want to think about, how did I show up in that interaction? What was I feeling? What was I thinking or believing that generated that emotion? And pay attention to that. For me, if it's an interaction with, say, I have an 18-year-old son, and if I am getting into arguments with him about things that I think he should be doing that he's not doing, it's probably being driven by a belief either that to be a good parent, he has to do, for me to feel like I'm a good parent, he has to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, Or it might be I'm worried he's never going to leave the house and I'm going to have a kid here forever, which I don't really want. Understanding what, and you don't need to be negative about those things that you believe. You don't need to judge yourself. You don't need to be I'm terrible for thinking these things. That's not true. We don't choose how we think when it just is created in our brains, when we're not aware, when we're not being really intentional, like what I'm trying to teach you. So don't blame yourself for the things that you think. But what we are trying to do is enhance our awareness of these beliefs that are driving our behavior, so that we can really take a look at them and we can loosen our grip on them and choose how we really want to see the world, how we really want to view our child. Beliefs that are more empowering for us, and then give us greater influence over our children. And I'm not by any means advocating manipulating our kids, but that does feel, to me, having the greatest influence that I can on my kids feels like love and good parenting. But that isn't control, it's not manipulation, it's managing the way I think and what I believe, so that I can show up and parent in a way that's aligned with my values that expresses love and isn't like dependent on their behavior, isn't trying to extract these results from them so that I can feel good about myself. It's me creating a system of beliefs that helps me feel confident in my parenting, and then I can go to the table with my child in my interactions and be like a more whole, thoughtful, intentional parent. And that is what I want to give them. So it's a way of, like I said, having better influence, because it's not like pressure trying to control you influence. It's confident and assured and loving without conditions and without pressure and expectation. It's just like a pure offering of love and even wisdom, because when you're tapping into your authentic self, like that is allowing more problem solving, creativity, and wisdom as a parent. So I really appreciate you showing up here today. I would love to keep teaching you more. What I want you to work on first is paying attention to what stories you have about your child, what the belief system is that's driving those stories. Is it a belief that your child is a problem? Is it a belief that you did something wrong as a parent to create their condition? Is it a belief that if they didn't have this condition that they would be easier to parent? Is it a belief that they're never going to be like other kids, and so you're parenting from fear and anger, or fear and worry, or uncertainty? It could be so many things, but only you will know. And so pay attention to how you're showing up as a parent. And it is so much easier to do this if you just take one specific scenario, one incident. Like, you got into a fight with your son yesterday. Like, okay, what was I doing and not doing? What feeling was creating? What's kind of like driving that? Because our emotions are what drive all of our actions. So try to tune into, if you don't know what it is, so just pay attention. Like, what were the behaviors? And behaviors are things you do and don't do, things you think and don't think. What feeling was driving those behaviors? And then what am I believing that is creating that feeling in me? And once you figure that out, then you want to be really nice to yourself. Like, okay, that makes sense that I think that, but I don't think that belief is really serving me. And that is just like a way of loosening your grip on the belief. You don't have to stop believing it. Be really gentle and kind with yourself. Like, it makes sense that I had this belief and it's okay, but maybe I could believe something different. That is the most magical secret of all, is just a little bit of curiosity. Maybe this could be different. And that will start to unlock a world of possibilities for you and your child. And I would love to talk about this more. Tune in. I'm going to pop on at least a few times a week and share little tidbits of coaching and how it's impacted me personally and other clients that I've worked with. And it will literally change your life as a parent. So if you spend 10 to 20 minutes a day working on some of these principles, in 5 years, you'll be a totally different person. In 3 months, you will see a huge change in how you show up in your relationships with your kids, how you show up in the world, and how you feel. It's amazing. So thanks for being here.